Hi there, this is Luisa Heinzel. Today with another try of being funny in English. Let's see if that can work. If I look to my calendar today, I can see that today it's Easter Tuesday, isn't it? So that means Easter is over. And for me, Easter is something, when it's over, you can sometimes feel like divided into several different parts, like this paper here. How can that happen? Well, on Easter, you, of course, have to search for some eggs. And perhaps you have found some of the eggs that someone else has hidden somewhere. But there are always those eggs where you are sure that you will find them in 2036. Yeah? That is one point. The other point is that you probably had some more food than normally and some more family around you than normally. And food and family, if that is too much, that is not so good. Yeah. Because then afterwards, when you are back in your normal life, meaning when the Easter holiday is over, you have the problem that you have to put all of your body parts back together. And that is something that can be really difficult, especially when you perhaps have some problems with, for example, drinking milk or eating gluten or something like that. You know, if you are intolerant with some food, then that can be an even bigger problem. But no matter if you're intolerant or not, this problem is always the same. It can happen that you feel like, I have several different parts of myself laying around me, and my soul and my body are not connected to each other anymore, and we have to do something against that and put everything back together. And another thing is, I thought, what the heck is going to happen to the bunnies after Easter? I mean, on Easter, we are talking about bunnies. We say, oh, we love bunnies. Bunnies are everywhere. But, excuse me, please, but what happens with the bunnies after Easter? I mean, can we perhaps use some bunnies even as if Easter is over? Is that possible? So with this video, I also want to do something nice for all of the bunnies in this world, because I think they deserve a little attention even after Easter, or perhaps especially after Easter. So let's do something. I thought we can make a Franken paper with bunnies today. Yeah. So there's the first question. What the heck is Franken paper? If you are new to junk journaling, then let me show you something that I have prepared really quickly before recording this video. I just made a really simple and really quick Franken paper with no inking, no fancy things, just with the things which were laying next to my sewing machine before I decided to do this project. So what you can see here is, something really simple, but it's something, if you're new to junk journaling, perhaps you don't know what that is. If you hear the word Franken paper, then you think, hey, what the heck shall that be? And to be honest, when I started junk journaling and when I heard the word Franken paper for the first time, I was totally confused, because I thought, why the heck is this called like that? It's really easy. You can see this paper was sewn together from several different single pieces, like Frankenstein's monster. And that is also why this paper is called Franken paper. It's so easy. Perhaps, if you're new to junk journaling, perhaps you have learned something new now. I was really happy when I was told why this paper is called like this, because I had absolutely no idea. You can see I have stitched around the single pieces of paper with a zigzag stitch with my sewing machine. If you don't have a sewing machine, please don't freak out. You can just take a black pen or a stamp to imitate the sewing around the papers here. So you don't necessarily need a sewing machine for this project. And I think even with a pen, this can look really, really interesting, and it also has some advantages because, sewing adds texture and a pen doesn't add texture. So if you like a flat piece of paper, then a pen could perhaps be even better, or a stamp. Yeah. So let's go into this and let's talk about what I have on my table here. I have just cut 2 full sheets of a printable, or basically 2 different printables. And what I'm trying to say here is you can also use your scraps. Yeah, you don't need a full sheet of paper. You can also take what you have laying around, some leftovers or something like that. I have taken this full sheet because I wanted to show you something else in this video as well. But as you can see here on this paper, I have used scraps for making this here. Yeah, that was not a full sheet of paper. You can just use what you have, and perhaps you also want to mix more than 2 different papers. I have decided to mix 2 because I have made 2 new printables for my Etsy shop, which I wanted to show you in this video as well. So as you can see, these are called embroidery paper, and we have here volume 1 and volume 2. You could perhaps see at first glance that the color palette is different, and there's another thing that is a little different about both of these paper packs. I wanted to have something, and I'm going to start with volume 2 here instead of volume 1 because, you know, why not doing it in another order? So I wanted to have something in my shop for those people who think I really love embroidery, I really love everything in this style, and I count myself to this group of people as well. I am really in love with embroidery, and the people who can do that, I have the biggest respect. And I also wanted to have something that is like mixed with paper. You can see some of these flowers look more like paper than embroidery. Yeah, so I wanted to have this really cool and somehow unreal mixture. Do you know what I mean? So this doesn't look like a photo of embroidery, but it's more like an artsy kind of thing. Yeah, there are pages like this one here, for example, which have like only embroidery on them, but there are others where there's like paper and embroidery is mixed. And I thought, I want to have something where you don't have to sit for weeks to make something like this in real by yourself. And I especially wanted to have that for those people like me who can't do embroidery. Imagine, for example, this page would be a junk journal cover. And if I imagine how long it would take me to do this by hand, it is just unimaginable. I can't think about doing that with my hands, yeah? So I thought it could be nice to have something that is like real somehow. It looks relatively real, but it's fake. And the other thing is, and it saves time, of course. And the other thing is, imagine you want to have some embroidery in your junk journal, and you could do that by hand. Let's say you have the skills to do that. But imagine how bulky your journal would be if you would have a real embroidery, like these flowers here, for example, in your junk journal. I think it's really hard to include real embroidery on pages, yeah, because that adds so much bulk that yeah, it's not nice anymore somehow in my eyes, but that's only my opinion. So I thought if we have something that we can print, then we can have something that is really flat and it looks like real embroidery. Perhaps that's an idea for you as well, to take this and, you know, use this for your junk journal. So each of these sets have 30 pages in total. So that is really a lot. And I've also tried to get some really different colors in here. So as you can see, this set is really colorful, but the single pages have like different color palettes as well, so that you can use these pages for many different journals. Yeah, for example, this with the red and the white and the black, you could put that into a relatively like monochromatic journal. The more colorful pages you could put into a rainbow journal or whatever, so that you can take these 30 pages and make several different journals out of them. My thought was to have a paper pack where you can say, okay, I have this page that fits into this journal. I have this page that fits into another journal. And depending on the color palette, you can, of course, take just a few pages from the pack and then put them into one journal and another few pages into another journal. Do you know what I mean? So with volume 1, which you can see here, I went with another color palette, way more neutral, way more like white and beige and off-white. And I also did something else here. Digitally, I put some white gesso over these things. So the embroidery there where you can like see it through the gesso is really crisp and clear like in the other pack, but I wanted to have some grunge as well. And I also thought if you want to mix both of these packs, meaning the volume 1 and the volume 2, you could have some pages which are a little lighter and a little more calm to journal on. And with the like fake gesso on it, you would have a really easy job to journal on those pages. Sometimes I have the problem when I take paper and put real gesso on the paper and then I put that into my journal. I have problems to choose the right pen because not every pen is made for writing on gesso. Yeah, so sometimes I have the problem that the ink from my pen bleeds somehow. And with this, that can't happen. I mean, you take it from your printer and then you can write on the paper and it looks like there was gesso on it. Yeah, so of course you could also take the other paper pack with the more colorful embroidery and take some real gesso and brayer that over the pages so that you have the same effect like here. If you want to mix those two paper packs in one journal and you want to have the same like gessoed look on each of those embroidery pages. Does that make sense? So you can find the links to both of these items down below in the description box. You can find them in my shop, and I'm really hoping that you like them and that you can do something with them and that you have some ideas what to do with this. So sorry, this page was cut. I have already done something with that because I wanted to try different things. So yeah, you can find that in my shop, and the links are, as I said, down below in the description box. So let's now start with making our Franken paper with bunnies. The first thing I want to do is I want to take some distress ink and ink around the edges of these rectangles to give them a little more definition. I use some pumice stone distress ink for doing that. And now I'm taking one of these really giant label stickers. As you can see, it has this backing here and I can just take that off, and now this side is sticky because I thought, why don't I just take my pieces and stick them down to such a sticker piece instead of taking all of these and taking them to my sewing machine and struggling with sewing them together. In the past, I often did it exactly like that. I have taken the single pieces when I wanted to make a Franken page, and I have taken the single pieces to my sewing machine, and then I was really struggling because, you know, when you have to sew them together, that is sometimes not so easy because they move all the time. And the other thing is, I like to have them for this project really in, 90-degree angle, and that is not so easy with the sewing machine when everything is like moving around. You can see there are some like weird shapes here. So I take some smaller pieces to let this overlap a little bit. In the beginning, when I started gluing this here, you can see I have glued, I haven't glued it. It sticked by itself, I've sticked it like edge to edge. But then that is not possible anymore. And then you can, of course, let them overlap a little bit as well. And with the sewing, I will do in a second, everything holds together really well. So this sticker sheet also has the advantage that everything is like really secure and that nothing can fall apart later. So I take this to my sewing machine. Oh, here I'm already back. I'm sorry, I'm making a voiceover and trying to speak in the speed of the video. I'm sorry, here I'm back from my sewing machine. And now I cut this into two pieces so that both of these pieces fit into my die cut machine. Because in the next step, I want to cut out some bunnies from both of these sheets. If you don't have die cuts or if you don't like to use die cuts, then don't freak your freak. Just think about some alternatives. You can also use some stickers now and just stick them to what you already have here. You could also use some cutouts from magazines or from book pages, just some fuzzy cut images if you don't have stickers. Or what you also could do is you could take out some stamps and just stamp to these papers here. Or you could just take some paint and draw something, or draw. Drawing with paint, Louise. You can take out some paint and paint something, or just with a pencil or whatever. Do what you want. Yeah, you don't need die cuts. But I want to have some bunnies, and I have this set here by Zizix and Tim Holtz. This is called Hippity Hop. And it's from the Fall 1 release by Zizix and Tim Holtz. And I really, really like these silhouettes of these bunnies. It's just, they are just so cute. And you can do so many things with these. But I want to try something special today because, you know, Easter is over and let's just do this. Please don't be confused about this weird packaging. This is my prototype package from Zizix and Tim Holtz when I got these for making for the Fall 1 release. I got that in this, like, you know, prototype package. Of course, when you buy these, the package looks like, you know, the packages from Zizix and Tim Holtz. They look not this weird, yeah? So I place my bunnies here, and now I want to cut them out from this material here. And as you can see, everything has cut fine except the threads. That's normal. But you can take out the bunnies really, really well, like without sewing, yeah? And then you can just take your scissors and cut the threads off so that you can take the bunnies out completely. So I'm quickly doing that for all of my bunnies. I will cut out a few more as well. So here you can see this step is finished. And I have 6 bunnies in total. And when I look at these, I'm already totally in love. So no matter what I want to do next, I think this is just a cute idea by itself. So yeah, you could also cut them out and just leave them like they are. I really like them. This like patchwork look is really cool in my eyes. As you can see, I have 3 of each design. Yeah, so in this die cut set, there are 2 different bunnies, and I have cut the same amount of each design. If you want to do the same thing like I'm doing here, then please keep that in mind, because we want to puzzle them back into the original paper later. So that means you need the same amount of each design so that the puzzle makes sense in the end. I have inked the edges of these bunnies as well so that they pop out a little more. And as you can see, this one here was here originally, and now I take it and I put it back into the paper, but somewhere else. Look, that is just cool. So then you can see him, but he's not in the same position like before. To make sure that he can't run away or hop away, I take some tape and I tape him down from the back. I make sure that he can't fall out anymore, because later on I want to cut these pieces again. So please, if you want to do this, make sure that you use enough tape that your bunnies can't fall out. And now I will take my other bunnies, and oh, here it's already done. I have taken them and just put them back into those little bunny shaped holes. And now I take this whole thing and I cut it from the back, like you would do it with a masterboard, for example, yeah, and cutting the masterboard blind. This is a little like cheating myself, because of course I can see the bunny shapes here, but I try to ignore them to get some pieces that are as irregular as possible. And I also want to cut through the bunnies to get only portions of the bunnies to my new pieces here. Then I take my Distress Ink pumice stone again, and I ink around all of these edges here again, because, you know, we've cut them and I want to be them the same like the others that we've just glued before. Then I take another sheet of this sticky label stuff thingy here, and now, as you can guess, I will glue them down again so that we get a new pattern and a new full sheet with all of these puzzle pieces here and with all of those portions of the bunnies. And I find this really, really interesting, because when you look at this, you think, oh, it's a puzzle somehow, but you can't see those pieces of the bunnies at first glance. And that is, in my eyes, really interesting. And once you've found one of those bunnies, you will start searching for the others as well. And that is, I think, really cool. So here you can see me trying to decide if it's possible that I can cut this whole sheet into 4 pieces with the same size, because here it's already done. I'm so sorry. Making a voiceover is so incredibly hard for me. I'm so sorry. Hopefully you can follow. So I've just cut this piece of paper into 4 journaling cards, which have the same size. And now I want to place black bunnies onto those journaling cards so that we get more contrast, but bunnies again. Yeah, so I decide where I want to have the bottom of this card and the top, and I did that for the 3 others as well. And when I had this here, I thought it's perhaps a little extreme, but I wanted it to have it extreme. So with the black, I think that fits really well to the thread. But at the same time, I want to add some gesso, some white gesso, to give the bunny somehow a stage. Yeah, so that he can be on something. And at the same time, I wanted to mute the background a little bit, because the background is really busy. And in a second, meaning here, I want to add some botanicals as well. That makes the background even more busy, but I want that. I wanted to have this, you know? So with these little flowers and leaves, the background gets like busier, and the gesso helps that the bunny can stand out a little more, and that the background also gets more interesting. Yeah, you could also take, for example, some, more solid stamps or something like that, and stamp over that with white. Could also be a possibility, but I really liked this idea with the gesso because it's really fast. So here I'm adding some white splatters to connect the background with the bunnies a little more, and to make the bunnies like really hopping around. I think splatters are always something that can help to make something a little more alive or a little more moving somehow. And I also want to have some quotes on my journaling cards, and I have chosen some from another printable of my from my shop. These are all in German. I will link the item down below for you, so that you can check that out if you want to have some German quotes. But a little note, the quotes are in German. Yeah, so there is no translation available or something like that. I had some difficulties in the past that some people have bought this item from my shop and they didn't realize that there's no English translation. Yeah, so I made this quote pack basically for my German viewers and for those of you who want to have some German in their journals, but there is no translation, and everything from this pack is in German. Yeah, please have that in mind. If you want to have English quotes, then this pack is not for you. So I have decided to take these 4 with the brown background. In the printable, there are also white and black quotes available. I thought that white, brown, and black is something that we can always use somewhere. I mean, that is those 3 colors are probably those that we use the most for quotes. Do you know what I mean? So here I have my finished cards. Of course, you could also back them with something. For example, a black layer below these cards would look great, or you could do brown or white or whatever, but I want to leave them for today like they are here because I really like them. And I'm really excited what you think about this idea with the portions of the bunnies in the background, and especially the combination with the embroidery. I think that looks really interesting. And if you get such a handmade card and you look at this bunny and the leaf there and you think, oh, that's a bunny, and then you see the bunny in the background, could that be a cool thing? I mean, to discover something that someone else has handmade is always a really nice thing, isn't it? And I think these portions of the bunnies make this like happen somehow. And that is like, a part of this experience to discover such a card. So I really hope that you like this. And of course, you could add a ton of more things to this idea. For example, some beads or some real embroidery thread or whatever you want. So please play around with this idea and let me know what you have come up with. And see you the next time. Have a very great day. Bye bye.